Well, hey folks, this is Darren with MyRV Works. We're working our way to a customer where we're going to be replacing an entire Schwintek slide room. We have worked on this customer before. We diagnosed the issue, and it turns out that we needed to replace. It would have been better to replace the entire Schwintek than try to put parts, good parts on fatigued, broken things. Okay, so that's where we're heading. It's a pretty drive, so I wanted to kind of roll the camera. And not a lot of people here right now, so I'm hoping to get a good video out of this. So I'm gonna put my arm down and navigate to my parking spot, and we'll pick you up on the job side. Well, hi folks, this is Darren with MyRV Works. Hope you enjoyed that little drive in. We're here on the job site. We're gonna be working on this slide room, and what I wanna show you right away is what it's doing. When they're bringing it in or out, it's making a skipping sound. So let's get right into it, and let's show you and let you hear what this slide room's doing, and then we'll just jump right into the repair, okay? Okay, so I've got you set up. We're looking up at this track here. Let's bring it in, and you'll be able to see and hear what it's doing. Okay, go with it. Yeah, bring it in. Now you're going to hear it popping up at the top when it gets in all the way. Get ready for it. Okay, okay. You guys heard that, yeah? Okay, bring it back out. Okay, so now that you've heard that crunching sound, we're going to go inside the slide room, the H column, and we're going to try to determine what's causing that, okay? Now, full disclosure, we've already diagnosed this issue. We've already had this column off. The customer has purchased the new columns and everything, and I'm going to spin you around and show you what they purchased, and then we'll go ahead and get busy making the repair. And it might pop again on us. Okay, good. Now, what I'm going to want to do is, since the next thing I'm going to be doing is taking off this H column, I'm going to want the slide room to be brought in, about 6 or 7, no more than 12 inches, okay? Because that's the position I'm going to have it in when I start working on it. So the slide room's all the way out. You heard it go in, you heard it cracking and popping. We brought it all the way out. So now that I'm about to take the column off, I want to bring that slide room in about 6 inches. Okay, so let's bring the slide room in about 6 inches, and that's where we're going to just leave it, and that's where I'll start working on it. So bring it in about 6 inches. Maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's good right there. That's good right there. Okay, so why I wanted to do that is I wanted to bring the room in and out a little bit, put it in the middle. It's a small room, so I'm not going to need to support underneath like if it was one of these ones that comes way out, okay? But I need there to be a little bit of room, so when I get this column off right here, I could go inside and kind of bump it a little bit, and I can move that room out so I can actually work on getting the column off. You'll see me doing that, okay? So right now, what I want to do is I'm going to pan the camera over here onto the table and show you the parts that the customer got to replace all these parts in here. And then we'll go into why we're not just going to replace a piece part, but we're going to replace the whole thing. Okay, so let's show you what we got over here. Lippert has changed the design on their Schwintek multiple times. Okay, so there's been situations where I've gone to replace just a part, and I've gotten the part, well, guess what? It's not going to fit. They've changed their bearing blocks. It's just ridiculous. So sometimes it's easier if you have an issue like this to just go ahead and get the whole thing. It's going to come in a tube like this. Okay, UPS usually delivers it like this. You're going to get these little aluminum extrusions, and when they used to ship these, it used to come on a pallet, and these pieces were used to kind of hold the slide room in the position that it was. This isn't, the aluminum extrusions you're getting aren't part of building it. It's just, I don't know exactly why they still send them, but maybe there's people that want to assemble it and then put it in. In your bag, you're going to have a whole bunch of screws left over, and the screws go in through this extrusion and they screw into the, where's the hole? The racks. Okay, so that's what all the screws are. So I just wanted to mention that. How do you know what part to get? On a lot of your H columns, this would be the H column, inside the wall, you're going to have a sticker. Okay, so take a picture of the sticker and then work with Lippert or work with your manufacturer to have them build you an aftermarket version of what you have in your coach. So we're just spent $1,300 in a new H column. What do you get for that? Well, you get the new H column, brand new Gibbs, new drive shaft, new motor, new wiper seals, new racks. And so why would I say that's a better way to fix it? Because first of all, you're going to have a challenge of making sure that the parts that they send you are going to mate with the parts that are already on your coach. Okay, this is a different part number. So when the customer contacted Lippert, they said, okay, I've got a part number 123XYZ. It's like, oh, we have another part number for you. It's the same thing. It's the aftermarket. So there you go. They've changed something. So good luck trying to find the repair kit to go with your specific product. Okay. So when we do these repairs, we're going to be taking the column off to put a new part on an old piece. So the H columns have to come off anyway to do that repair. My philosophy is if we're going to take the H columns off, let's put a brand new H column back on. And if we're going to do that, let's put brand new parts back on. Let's make a successful repair on the whole thing. Some of the best practices that I do is when the parts come, if you've watched another one of my videos where I think it's a 2 or a 3-parter, I don't know, it was a long one where we replaced this whole thing on an entire slide room. We worked with the manufacturer, we worked with Lippert, took all the measurements and everything, and we still got the wrong parts. The length was wrong, these things were wrong, so I don't know what happened there. So I will always take a column with me and just kind of bring it over to the RV and kind of mate it up to make sure that the top and the bottom are where the slots are aligned, and we've done that, and also make sure that the racks are the same length, which we've done as well. Okay, so once we start assembling this, we'll show you how to take the plastic shoes, put them on here, and I disengage the motor and slide it in because you don't want to break your brand new shoe, and that could possibly happen if you're not careful. So I wanted to share that with you. I would recommend ordering a new part. It's like a pay me now, pay me later kind of a thing. If you just swap out just a bearing block, well, then you're putting a new bearing block on an old rack. The meshing, let's just pull all stops. Let's just replace everything and just make it right. And this thing will go on for many, many more years. It's going to come in a tube. You're going to get some of these aluminum extrusions that you don't really need to worry about. The extra screws are for that. You don't need to worry about the screws. So in your bag, you're going to have your little plastic shoes here, which we'll bring you over and we'll show you how that works. So this is the new parts. Let's pan you back over here and let's start taking the column apart and getting some work done. Okay, so we've talked about the parts. You've seen the problem. Now we're going to start taking the screws off of this H column. Now again, this room's in a couple of inches, 6 inches or so. And the reason for that is so I can pull the room out. You'll see that and why I do it that way. So I'm going to just take my drill gun and these are Phillips screws. Sometimes they're rivets, sometimes they're square heads. So we're going to just take these off. These are painted screws, luckily, so not painted rivets. So I think what we could benefit from is just do a little bit of fast forward motion on you. But basically I'm just going to work my way up, taking all the screws off. When you take your last screw off, be careful you hold it. Okay, so we had to fight, but we got all the screws out of the H column. Now, on some of your slide rooms, on your H column, on the inside, you're going to have two plates. Sometimes the plates are down low and sometimes they're up high, or you'll have two plates near the track. I like the idea of those plates because they help reinforce this H column. On this coach, they do not have that. So technically, I should just be able to pull this and the room should be able to come out a little bit. Well, let's find out. If it doesn't, then we go on the inside, give it a little bit of a, what is that? Late 90s, no, early 2000 Rob Blake Avalanche hip check. Boom. And that'll, for you Colorado Avalanche fans with Rob Blake and Adam Foote, defensive players. So you give a little bit of a hip check and this slide room should pop out. But let's just see if we can pull it out here. Okay, so we were able to pull the H column out. Now you understand why I want the slide room in about 6 inches. If this slide room was all the way out, I have nowhere to pull it, right? So I was able to pull it that 6 inches that we brought it in. I was able to pull the whole room out right there. And then here is my H column right here. That's the experience I want you to have, but I have lost 30 minutes, 45 minutes just fighting to get to this point right here. And when I have to fight that, you'll notice how easy this is to pull in and out. That's good. That means that the weight of the room is on the rollers underneath. I have done some of these jobs where the manufacturer, for some reason, in their infinite wisdom of building RVs, they did not put rollers underneath these slide rooms. But Lippert's specification says that the roller should be every 24 to 36 inches. And somehow the manufacturers that made that particular slide room never got that memo. They did not put rollers. And so all the weight of the room is on the ceramic rollers on the bearing blocks, and that is not where the weight is supposed to be. Okay? So to get this column off, there's two things I need to do. I need to go up and take the screw out that's holding the motor down. Okay? So I need to get that screw out. That will allow me to free up the column to pull it off, but I also need to unplug the wire harness that's connected to the motor, because when I take this column off, the motor's coming with me. So I need to disconnect the motor wire and take out that screw. When you're taking the column off from the blocks here, sometimes you'll have to overcome a little bit of force. That's okay. Those are little bitty plastic rivets that just hold everything together during shipping. Okay, so if you have to pull really hard, that's okay. You're just overcoming these little plastic rivets. So I'll take the ladder, I'll go up to the top, take off that square drive screw that's holding the motor down, disconnect the motor, and the whole column is going to come off of the side. All right, so let's move my ladder. So we've got the screw. This motor had this little clip that held the motor harness in, so that's kind of a nice feature. So be advised, yours may or may not have this. So now we've got everything loose. The motor's loose from the H column. The motor's disconnected, so I should be able to pull this column right off. Okay, now you'll see that I'm pulling off the bulb seal. A lot of times, most times, the wire that goes to the motor here will be behind the bulb seal, and or the D seal. They call it a D seal, a bulb seal, wiper seal. But there's a track right here, and the wire feeds in that. I'll mention it now in case I forget, but when we put this back together, my best practice is to, you'll probably see me do this, but I want to mention it just in case I forget. So I'm going to put this H column back on, the new one. We'll bring it in almost to the point where it's closed, and then I'll feed my wire and I'll squirt this with some of that green CRC power loop stuff just to make it slippery. And I'll have my wire here and I'll feed this in with like that much gap between the finished wall. And that just makes it easier to put it in. You don't have to do it from the inside, okay? So you'll probably see me do that, okay? Now my plan is to just show you how I'm doing this one side. There's no point in you watching me do the other side. I can go a lot faster and get done, but so enjoy me doing this side, but the other side I'm gonna do without recording, okay? So here is a column. Let us take this over. I'm gonna set this on the table, and then let's get the rest of this off of the coach. So you saw what was involved in taking this off. Take all the screws off. Now this one had a decorative cover over it. That's the piece that fell. Wasn't quite ready for that. Took all the screws off. We had the room in about 6 inches. That allowed us to pull this out a little bit until it hit its flange and the hard stop on the inside. Take the motor screw out, disconnect the wire, pull out your D-seal, peel this off. This whole thing comes off and slides out, okay? So we're gonna take the rest of this apart, and then we'll find the broken part in and among the good new parts. So I'm gonna go set this down. So the next part of this is to get these racks off, okay? Now, on the drive shaft, the drive shaft's in here. Okay, you'll see the motor's way up on top. The motor has a bit of a, sometimes they use like a C-clip, sometimes they just deform the metal, but it won't allow it to fall out the bottom. And on that note, some of you have made comments that your drive shaft is sticking up a little bit and it won't seat down, therefore your motor won't seat down on top of the bearing block. Just take a socket, get it to the top, and you'll bang it down. Now this one is slid in a little bit. I'm gonna pull the motor out the top and we can move this column out a little bit. So let me do that real quick. So just pull the motor out the top, and now I can freely turn the drive shaft, okay? Because I wanted to get the drive shaft out a little bit. So here's the motor that just picked up right off the top. Okay, so this is the part where the drive shaft slides out the top. You can't get them out the bottom unless you break it. So it's gonna go out the top, all the way out the top of this. So we got the drive shaft stuck at the bottom, drive shaft through here. Here is the collet the motor was attached to. And then this one, they used a C-clip. Okay, so the motor comes out, and if you could see the end of that drive shaft, I'll make sure you get this out. They used a C-clip on there, but I'll show you that a little bit closer when I get to the bottom. So here I have a bearing block right here. Down there I have a loose bearing block. So the bearing blocks are free. The spur gear, sometimes you can get them out. I left the collet. So let's see here. See that little C-clip right there? That's why this slides out the top. I have seen people try to drive it out the bottom. They started adding this C-clip, but before they had the C-clip, they had kind of punched the ends so that it's deformed and it won't slide down through the spur gear. The next step would be to take off the racks, okay? I tell you what, I'm gonna save everybody a lot of time. You don't need to watch me take these racks off. It's just a bunch of screws to take the racks off. Because the room is able to be pulled out a little bit though, I can get to the screw way in here, way in the inside. So I'm gonna take off all these screws, take off all the screws from the top, save everybody a bunch of time watching me do that. And then the next thing, I think I'll have all the parts over here and we'll find out where the offensive, where's the skipping coming from? Where's that coming from? So I'm gonna take all these racks off, we'll bring everything over to the table, set everybody up and do a show and tell over there, all right? So what was causing this? So we've got everything off the side of the RV, we brought it all over here, and so we have the bearing block still on the rack. And what I wanna show you is look at all the play right there. You're not supposed to have that much play in these bearing blocks when they're on the rack, okay? And it's on both the top and the bottom, okay? So follow with me on this. Here is our drive shaft. The drive shaft is going through here. Now this one's gonna be the bottom. Here, let's go to the top. This is the one that the motor attaches to, okay? Now the collet is around here somewhere. Oh, I was right the first time. So here we have the collet, okay? So the collet, the drive shaft comes through this point right here. Let's show you this stuff, guys. Let's actually, so the drive shaft's gonna go through, again, it's gonna go through on the top. Here comes the C-clip right there. The collet is gonna fit right on top of this, and the C-clip only lets it go so far. See, I can't go any farther than that, okay? Now, this is what I was saying. Some of you, you're finding that your collet is sticking up a little bit, and then when you put your motor on, where's the motor? Up. And then when you go to put your motor on, the motor will not seat, okay? So what I want you guys to do is take a socket that is about that size, it'll fit inside, and just bang, 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 and that will drive the collet and the drive shaft back down, okay? So all you're overcoming is the bearing block at the bottom, which is here somewhere, this bearing block. When you go look at your slide room and you look at the very bottom, you can peel the wiper seal back, you're gonna see this right here. And the drive shaft should stick out just a little bitty bit on the bottom of the bearing block. Okay, so what you're gonna be doing is on the top, you're gonna bang, 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 and you're gonna drive the drive shaft back down. So for those of you that where the collet is sticking up, just take a socket and drive it back down. That will allow you to get your motor to seat like that. And then your screw is gonna go in one of these little slots right there holding the motor in place. Now, as the motor is turning, there's a lot of torque. Look at all the play on this slide room, okay? Now, if we go here to the end, it's fine. Here, let me show you this one. You could see on the end where it's rounded out right there on the end. That's where most of your torque is taking place. So visualize, that room's really slippery going in and out. It's on the rollers, so it's in the middle. It's really wonderful. I mean, I was able to pull it out easy. So the thing's going, gets to the end, and this bearing block rotates a little bit. Why is it rotating? Because a shoe is worn out. Let's look at the shoe. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this off. Okay, spur gear comes out. On your spur gears, it's flat on one side, and then it's got this little bevel. The bevel goes down, okay? So if this is your shoe, here's your spur gear, the bevel goes in the down orientation. And so there you have the bearing block. I like looking at the spur gears. Now, this is another thing they've changed. You'll notice that this is more of the stop sign-y shape. Some of you have the round drive shaft with slots at the 90-degree axis. So even the spur gears don't work. They're not interchangeable. The other spur gears are more of a golden color. They have an S stamp on top of them. The new spur gears don't have any markings on them. I guess I take that back. On the beveled edge, there's a little notch in it right there. But I always have said line up your S's. Well, on the stop sign kind of drive shaft, there is no S's. So just put it in there and I'll show you when we align this on that side. So here we have the shoe, okay? And look at how much play is just within the shoe. Just within the shoe itself, okay? I don't think you're supposed to have that much play in the shoe, guys. And so there is our problem, the shoe. So let's just go replace the shoe. I put new shoes on because I had a few, and even with the new shoe, the problem is they've changed the design of their bearing block multiple times, and even between this system right here, they've changed it again. And let me just show you that real quick. So here I have a rack. Now, see on your bearing block, I call that the fin, and this fin goes up, all right? So the fin goes up, it goes into here, so I have a fin that goes up and it slides in. This is the new track, and making sure, yeah. If you look at the profile there, guess what? On the brand new one, the fin goes down. So here, the old one that came with the RV, the fin goes up. The replacement that they sent, the fin goes down. That is to say, if I were to take this bearing block and put the shoe back on, so my shoe's back on, it would not fit in the rack because the way the shoe is, it goes up. The new one, it goes down. Madness. Why do they keep changing these things? It makes it impossible for us guys in the field and even shops to stock parts like this. So here's the situation. You go to buy just the replacement parts, and you go to get the replacement parts where the fin goes up, and they send you a thing where the fin goes down. You've taken the whole column off to get this. And so it's just absolute madness. We're really fighting, like, quit changing the design. So the new system they came, it's got a bearing block where the fin goes down. That's my point. Now, if we look closely at this shoe, and if we look really closely at the fin, you can see some wearing on it. So it's not square, it's not true. It's been worn out. If you see that right there, right in that little spot right there. So we looked at all of these bearing blocks. Well, when we came here the other day, look at this. So even with brand new shoes, it didn't fit tightly. It was loose still, even with brand new shoes. So the part that had failed was the aluminum right here was all chewed up. Okay, now let's compare that to this guy here. Here, let me just pull it out. Okay, we've learned, let me put that drive shaft there. We've learned about the difference in the drive shaft. We've talked about the sprockets. Here we have another shoe that's very, very loose. See how much play is in that shoe? So let's see if we can get this off without. All right, so I'm gonna take my favorite little pick tool. There we go. Now what I want you to do is see if you can look inside. You're gonna look right inside of there. See how that's worn out? What we're looking at is that aluminum is shiny in there. I don't know if that camera is taking up on there. So it's kind of even rounded if you look really carefully right in there. Hoping that it's, so what we're looking at is the fin. I'm calling that the fin, okay? And again, this fin goes up, the new one goes down, but right in there, that aluminum is worn out. And so, again, we put new shoes, but because the aluminum's worn out, the shoe's loose. So you can't just replace the shoe. And so let's say we get a new bearing block. Great, we got a new bearing block. Well, guess what? The new bearing block is gonna go into a rack that's all worn out right there. Now this manufacturer, it's a Tiffin, that's got a full body paint, and when they painted, they got paint all inside of this track right here. So before the customer contacted us, he scraped out all the paint. So the paint was one of the things that was causing this thing to work so hard. He's got the paint out. One of the things we did was we squirted it with my beloved CRC Power Lube with Teflon. Okay, that made it nice and slippery. It's still slippery here, but I think the offending, the sin here is a manufacturer squirted this. It got paint inside. The thing had to work really, really hard, and because it worked really, really hard, it wore out. And it's even, if I run my finger right here, the aluminum is even kind of scored itself out a little bit. Okay, so I would say let's replace the rack because that's all worn out. Or you know, what are you gonna do? Get a brand new spur gear and a brand new gear and run it against an old rack? That doesn't sound healthy to me. So let's replace the racks. Okay, let's replace the bearing blocks. Let's replace the shoes. Okay, and so you pay. Now I'll share this, guys, with you guys too. That $1,300. The customer went directly to Lippert on this. Your mileage may vary, but on this instance, Lippert was charged. No, Lippert was $1,300, but Tiffin was $400 more. So if you would have bought it directly from the OEM, so see if you can get it from Lippert. You know, just an idea, sharing that out with you. The customer was able to save $400 on buying it directly from Lippert versus buying it through his OEM. So just sharing that information out with you. Your mileage may vary. So having said that, if you're dealing with all this stuff like there, you're going to have to take the column off anyway. So let's take the old column off and put a brand new column in. And so you're putting more money into parts, but you've got a whole new system here, okay? So Lippert's saying not to lubricate these things, and I emphatically, with the strongest prejudice I can, totally, Lippert, I love you. I've been to a lot of your schools. I know some of your guys, but I will totally disagree with you on the point where you're telling people not to lubricate these slides. On the bell curve of repairs that I have done on the Schwintek Slide Room is due to the fact that the tracks are not lubricated, so everything has to work hard and it's eating itself, okay? So I don't even think that's open to debate. I can prove through multiple, literally hundreds of repairs I've done on Schwinteks is because they're not lubricated. But not just any lubricant, only this product. Only the Power Lube with PTFE. That's the only thing I would ever recommend. I'll look you in the eye, and if you're using something else, I'll tell you that you're using the wrong product. I love you, but you're using the wrong product if you're not using this. And also, the most important part to lubricate these things is this track right here. This track right there is the most important part. Yes, you need to lubricate where the drive shaft goes inside of here. Yes, you need to lubricate where your gibs go. And I've got a whole other video. We'll make a link to it. You could go watch the video where I point out where to lubricate it. But I would lubricate this track right here. Now, why is Darren making a big deal about that? I'll pick this guy. Because this little plastic shoe is riding inside of this aluminum track, and it's going back and forth, okay? Go look at our playlist. I've got a video where I was putting all that my muscle and I could not move this bearing block, okay? And we had to have hydraulic rams to push the slide room apart. And I squirted some of this on it and let it soak, and then all of a sudden it started to move, okay? So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Lippert, I love you, but you're doing a major disservice telling people not to lubricate it. So folks, you're big boys and girls, who are you gonna listen to? The engineer that keeps redesigning these things, or the guy you're gonna call to fix it? I'd rather listen to the guy that you're gonna call to fix it, who's fixed these things, and not the guys that keep redesigning these things. Okay, moving on. On a side note, you might notice I've got a different hat on, and we've the battery died on the phone, and so we've actually put that side apart back together that we had apart, and we've actually disassembled the other side. So hey, it's a good thing the battery died. So now what I want to do is we'll reposition everybody. I'm going to show you how to reassemble these racks. Last time we had another H column on the table. Now we're down to just 1 and 2 racks. So let me kind of walk you through what we're going to do to put the racks on and put the thing back on. Now we're on the sunny side, and let's get you busy on that. So what I'm going to do, since I'm sitting right here, this is the bag that comes with it. I have a plastic shoe. Now the plastic shoe is going to go thusly. Now, I didn't hear the snap. I want to hear a snap. There. I don't know if you heard that. If we go to this one, remember the play. Now this is the side that was good. The side that we took apart originally. Let's see, this one's even more messed up. So the original tracks, which we have down here on the bench down here, there was a lot of play in the bearing block with respect to the rack. A lot of play. And we showed you that it was from the shoes wearing out, and then the fin, I'm calling it the fin. And the old ones, the fin, it's the difference between the fins going up and the fins going down. So even the other side that was behaving itself, there's still a little bit of play, okay? So when we put this rack in, let's compare and see if there's any play. We've already done that on the other side, and we put them in. They were very tight, and that's what you want. You want there to be, you want the bearing block to slide very nicely, but you don't want any wiggling in it at all. Now this one's borderline acceptable, okay? And look, you see the track, the rack, there's no chew-up marks on it, okay? And this one's probably, of all the 4, 2 on either side, this one's probably the best one. This one is also acceptable, but look, we're starting to get a little bit of wear right in there, okay? And starting to get a little bit right on the end. So if you're looking at your racks and you look at the ends and it's starting to eat up a little bit, you've probably got some play in your bearing block. And time to replace your shoe. If you put your new shoe on and there's still some play, just like we have in this situation, I just replace the whole thing. I really would, because this is aluminum and it's gonna wear out, okay? So there's that. We put our new shoe in. What am I gonna do? Squirt it with a little bit of this. I'm just gonna saturate that. And let's go down here. Boy, this is nice. I could just sit here. And bring me my tea. I'm joking. So here's our shoe. We're gonna snap it in. I wanna hear a nice little snap sound. No, I felt it. You didn't hear it, but I felt it. And I'm gonna squirt it with some of this. Okay. Now, you'll notice on these new racks, they've got a little piece of foam in there. So I go to the opposite side. Let's peel this off so we don't forget. And we're gonna just get them started right here. Oh, wait, one more thing we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the motor. Oh, other side. I need to loosen the motor for a very specific reason. that you're about to see. So I'm going to take the motor loose. I do not want to lose that brand new screw, so I'm going to put them right there. And all I'm going to do is just pull the new motor out. Okay. Why I did that was that allows me to, I don't know if you can see that turning, that allows me to turn this. Okay, with the motor in, it wouldn't allow me to turn. Okay, so I'm able to turn it, and I've got squirted there. This one's the top one. We know this because the bottom one's got this little profile right here. Okay, the top one does not. Make sure you get your lefts and rights figured out, but you guys can figure that out. So we're just going to get it started. I'm going to touch that gear right there, just a touch. Okay, we're going to go down here. Boy, this is working out really well with this table. I like it. Okay, and let's get some in there. Now by lubricating it now, I don't need to lubricate it when it goes in. And the next question, well, Darren, how often should I lubricate these things? I've mentioned this before. I don't play the violin anymore, but I used to play the violin. And the question, well, how often should you tune your violin? It's a function of humidity. It's a function of all the different things, how long you play it. But so if you're going to be stuck somewhere for a long period of time, you don't need to lubricate it. It's going to be sitting there. But if it's a sound thing with this. That's the whole violin thing. It's a sound thing. You can tell when your violin's not in tune, and you can tell when this thing's working a little bit harder. When it's all nice and lubricated, it's going to have a certain sound to it, and then it's going to change its sound, and that's when you lubricate it. Okay, so now I've got my two tracks. Can you guys see down there? Yeah. And there's some exciting things happening. We're right here on the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and I think a submarine's about to come in. And if it does, I'll share that with you. But we saw the Navy tenders going out, and we got a guy with a huge camera lens over there. So, and so what I'm going to do is I've got my tracks just touching the gears. Okay, so what I want to do is just kind of let gravity be my friend. Okay, can you see what I did? And I'm going to turn this. So see, by taking that motor out, I was able to turn it, and they're both turning. And now, okay, so we're gonna set them back, moving our red deal, okay, and then look at what happened. I've got, okay, see how both sides are moving? So now they're kind of synchronized. I'm gonna grab my tape measure, and I just needed whatever the number is, right? I just need this side to sew. All right, let's make it be 9. Okay, I got 9 inches right there. Do I have 9 here? I've got 9 there. So they're in line with each other, right? They're parallel. And so you saw what I did. I kind of set them right on top of the tooth, set it down, and slid it down. I'm going to check that one more time. I would recommend getting a picnic table as your toolkit with a little slot in it to make this go back and forth, because this is really super nice. So add that to your tool list. I'm sitting here, it's a beautiful day, the sun, I got the strait over here, I'm sure there's eagles flying around, certainly seagulls. Okay, so I'm right at 9, right there. Let's see here. You know what, I'm about 1/8 of an inch off. That's 9, that's 8 7/8. Is that worth taking the thing apart? I think we're okay. That 1/8 of an inch is to me, it's acceptable. If it was more, I might give myself a problem. We could take it apart and move 1 notch, but I think then it would be 1/8 of an inch the other way. Okay, so now that I have this assembled, okay, and it's gonna go like this. Okay, so this is the part that's going to be up against the slide room. This is the flange. It's going to go against the wall. I'm going to take this whole assembly. I will put my motor back in. Okay, thing with the motor, let me rotate this. The motor has wires coming out of it. I want the wires to be in the back corner of my H column. Okay, so let's put them like this. Stick our motor, our collet is still in there, and we're going to stick our motor. And at this point, since I'm not in the room, I can actually wiggle them around and get them where I want them. There we go, he just seated in, just snapped in. And my wires are in the back corner. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Can you see how my wires are in the back corner? That's what we like. And okay, so here's where my table, oh, it's still going to work wonderfully. Okay, so we're going to take our screw, and this screw goes into one of those little oval slots on the motor, keeps it from popping out. Okay. The next thing, I'm loving this table. What is this? What else is in the box, Jeff? For you Jeff Dunham fans. So what I've got here is this originally was a complete motor wiring harness. I think it was a 5-foot long deal. What I'm after is this end right here. So you get the thing, whatever it costs, you just cut it. And all you're after is a red and a black wire. And then I just put spade connectors on the end of it. Okay, so what that allows me to do is plug this in like that, okay? And then I can take, you know me, I use 12-volt tools. Got a 12-volt battery pack, plus and minus. And what do you think is going to happen? I'm just going to connect 12 volts, and we see, well, if we can keep it connected, they're both moving. Okay, so that's what I want to happen, and I just change polarity, and they go the other direction. So I'm happy. Motor's secured in place. I'm kind of in the middle where I want to be. And so now we'll set up the camera over here. We'll take the whole assembly and put it in. Now, when I do that, I'm going to secure the bottom first. Okay, all the screws along the bottom, I'm going to secure the bottom first. And you'll see me do this, but if I forget, I'm kind of comfortable and I'm sitting, and you guys are my audience here. So I'm going to make sure this is secured to the bottom of the slide room, putting all my screws in right here. And then what I'm going to do is, you saw me move the motor. I'm going to drive the motor all the way to one end and put one screw in, which is now going to establish my parallelism. Okay, and then I'm going to drive it all the way to the other side, and any movement is going to allow it because I'm on my pivot point. I'm going to put another screw in all the way on this side. So now I know that the motor, that rack and this rack are parallel with respect to the way the motor wants to run. Okay, and then I go in and fill in all the rest of my screws. With me? Let's do it. Let's do it together. So let's reset the camera, and you guys get to see me up on this side now. Last time I was on this side. Now I'm going to be on this side. So let's do that now. Okay, great. We got you set up here on the sunny side now. The sun's more over here instead of over here. And I've got a handful of screws, and I'm going to put them in my thing. So now I'm going to go grab the entire H-column assembly, and we're going to put it into this position. And I'm just going to secure all the screws along the bottom. Now, another thing I wanted to point out is the wire. Here's the wire that was laying on the ground that goes up at the top. Just stuff it back inside the wall for now. Just get it out of the way. In a minute, I'll show you the trick to feed the wire back in. So let's go grab our column. We're going to put it on, put the screws in the bottom. Now, one of the things I did while I was still on the picnic table is I put some butyl tape all along this flange here. So butyl tape. Some places will put double-sided tape, but I like the butyl tape. It makes it more serviceable to take it apart. So here we go. We're going to put this right in here. Pardon my back. Okay, so it's in there now, and we're going to, I think you understand what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be putting screws in, so if my back is to you, or maybe we'll just cut this part out, but I'm going to be putting all the screws in along the bottom. Okay, I'll mention this. I'm able to pull the room out a little bit. Okay, so now that the room's out a little bit, I can get to this very back screw. There we go. Okay, let me get my little pick. I'm gonna take my pick. The holes line up on this. I'm gonna take my pick and kind of align it and lift up on it. Favorite little pick tool. There we go. Okay. So on some of these, I do have that hydraulic ram that you would put in there to raise up on it, but I don't think I need to do that. Here. Okay, now there's one more hole behind this, but I'll use my motor wire harness to move this allow in and out to get to that one. But I've got enough screws along the bottom, and I take my finger and I'm feeling on the underneath to make sure that that little flange on this rack is abutted to underneath, which it is. So now we'll take our motor pack. I got my 12-volt battery pack and my screws, drill with a square bit because that's what these screws are. We're going to go up there, put a screw in all the way at this side, drive the motor to the other side, put a screw in there. Now I know that my two racks are parallel. So let's see which way we're going. Hey, we're going the right way. Okay, now another thing I'm going to do here is take my eyeball. I've already done my 9-inch deal, remember? But I want to put my eyeball right along, okay, right about there. So I'm taking my eyeball, okay, and there's this flange on the RV, you know, whatever, and I want to make sure that the gap here is the same. So I'm just using my eyeball to do that. We did it with a tape measure. We're at 9 and 9 1/8. So we're good there. And so now that I've got my eyeball on it, I can see that I'm aligned here as well. If I wasn't, then I would take the screw off the motor, pull the column off, lift up the drive shaft a little bit, turn one of the spur gears, 1 or 2 teeth, and slide the drive shaft back down to get me the alignment that I need. Okay, so I gotta bring it back in to get to my screw hole. So now I am convinced that my alignment is going to be correct. Okay, so now, and it looks like the new racks and the old racks, the holes line up. What we found when we did the other side was that the holes on this flange do not line up with these holes, so we got to put, I like that though, I get to drill into new meat along the side of the RV here. So I put one screw in right here. So now this rack and that rack, I've got a starting point. So now I drive the H column to the other end to establish the other parallel point. Sometimes you can see the rack move up, so I'm going to stop a little more. Okay, so I'm after this hole right here. I've got the H column pushed up against the wall here, just holding it in place. And yeah, the holes, we're going into the same holes. So that's kind of nice. So I could just kind of put you there, put you there. So, like I said, now I know that my rack is parallel to the bottom rack. So I got all these screws in. So I want to get to the ones that are way back up in here. I got 2 more to go. Whoa, did you see that? I caught the battery. Outstanding. Okay, going the wrong way. Let's go this way. All right, there they are. Kind of got my shoulder into it to hold it open. Here's 2 screws right here. Okay. That should leave 1 more screw, which goes down below. Okay, left-handed. Let's see here. Up, drop the screw. Up, drop the other screw. It fell right there. Okay, so we dropped those screws. I went ahead and finished that project. but I want to show you this tool right here. Oops, let's turn it around. This is on our Amazon affiliate page. Okay, now what you're going to do, see how one side says magnetize, one side says demagnetize. So you take your bit here and you just kind of run it through. I don't know, I usually run this really slowly, and you're just going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and that will magnetize the tip. It'll magnetize this bit right here, and you don't be dropping screws. So on our Amazon affiliate page, you're going to get one of these guys right here, and that'll help you to. I've never really used a demagnetize, but after a week or two or whatever, it does lose its magnetism. So that's the go-to there. That has a spot in my tool bag. Take it everywhere. So where we're at right now, we've got all the screws in along the bottom. I went ahead and put that last screw in. We got all the screws along the top. They're parallel to each other. So now we've got our butyl tape along the side. So now we're going to put that wire back inside the bulb seal, okay? And then we'll attach everything together. So how do we do that? We're going to take our battery. We're going to go up there. We're going to bring the H column out a little bit. I can move this. All right, we're going to go up here. Huh, I'm batting 1,000. So I'm just going to run this, just make sure everything's happy. I don't hear any crunchy sounds. I've got the racks exactly where I want them right now. And just put my eyeball on that same point, make sure that everybody stays the same. Okay, yeah, we're right along parallel with the flange of this. So now I'm going to bring it in pretty close to closed. About right there. So I've got like 2 finger widths between here. So I'm done with my battery pack. I'm done with my wire harness. Okay, I'm going to take these down. I'm going to grab the wire that I stuffed inside the wall. We're going to bring that up and watch this trick. You're going to love this. So we're done with that. We're going to take some of this product. This would be the bulb seal that goes inside. And all I'm going to do is just kind of squirt it a little bit. It's going to make it easy to slide down. You could use soapy water, but I've already got this can out, so there we go. That's more than enough. Okay, so I've got this nice and slippery. Put this can down. I'm going to reach inside the wall and grab that wire that I stowed in. The reason I stowed the wire behind the wall is because I want to walk on it or have this pinch it or anything like that. So let's move this right here for now. And we're just going to reach inside, if I can feel it. I got my finger on part of it. Okay, so I got the end of the wire. For a second there, I thought it had worked its way into the floor. So here's the end of the wire that's going to be connected to the motor. And I think you guys have figured out what we're going to do. With that room pretty close to being closed, not that close, well, we'll figure it out when we get up to the top. I'm going to bring all my little party up these ladder. Put the ladder here. Actually, I'm going to move my ladder because I want to get above the part. So I'm going to open this up just a little bit right there. All right. What you cannot see maybe is a little pigtail of the motor. Now the motor's secured. I got the screw in, securing the motor. We're done there. So what I'm going to do, we've lubricated this track. And this thing, I'm going to put this right inside the track and feed this down from above. Right there. Just make sure there's these little train track things or little slots, and because it's slippery, I'm able to feed my wire right inside of the bulb seal, D-seal, whatever you want to call it. And I've got my eyeball looking down to make sure that everybody's happy. Working its way down. I'm going to start closing it a little bit. Now you need to get this pretty close to being closed, or else when you get to the bottom, it'll open back up again. Okay, so now I've got my wire tucked back inside of the D seal, bulb seal, whatever you want to call it. And now I'm going to reconnect my motor. And that's reconnected. Now they did have on this unit that little clip that secures the motor. And that's right over here. One of these little clips right here. Okay, so we're going to put this on. And then we will tuck it all inside there. Not everybody is going to have one of these little clips. I've got a love-hate relationship with these clips. Okay, so we're back in. Our wire is towards the rear of the H column. I'm going to bring my wiper seal up off the top. And you'll see they're just seated right inside. Some of you are not, this is perfect. This is what you want. All the way to this room is on the rollers. That's how it's so easy for me just to move this thing in and out. That's textbook, that's perfect. Yay, Tiffin. Some of you, you'll have to get that hydraulic ram or like a big crow's foot and lift up on this room to get it to seat back in. So this one went perfect. It's right along the wall here. But since this flange is pushing against the wall, the room will come out. Another thing is we're just making sure, now it's not synchronized. We're going to still have to synchronize when we're done. But it should push out. And then we'll go ahead and put all of our screws in on this flange right here. Okay. Yep, it's not synchronized, so one side's going to hit before the other and it's going to be a mess. Okay, that's good. That's good right there. Okay, so that gave me enough room to get my drill in there. Another thing that did was it kind of was a proof of concept that all of our wiring is good, the motor is right, you know, before we start putting screws in and then having to take the screws back out. So let's start putting the screws in. Okay, I'm going to save you guys the trouble. I'm going to pause. I'm basically going to put all these screws all the way up on the top, and then we'll put the decorative cover over that. So you don't need to watch me put all the screws in. I think you guys can figure out what I'm going to be doing, and then we'll bring you in towards the end and we'll show you the synchronization step and any final closing thoughts I might have. Okay, so we've got everything buttoned up on the outside, our trim, all those screws that I told you I did, and now it's the important part of making sure that we can get the room to synchronize. If I were to say I'm done, that would not be correct. The room needs to know that it's synchronized. Let's talk about synchronization for a moment. Let's visualize us being the controller. I am the controller, okay? I am blind, and all I can do is I can count pulses on the tops of the motors. I have that little thing going around. I can read my pulses on either side. I could read current going to the motors. I can do those things, okay? But I'm blind and I'm deaf, and all I have is pulses coming to me, and I'm able to read current. Now, me being the controller, what I'm going to want to do, what synchronization means to me, the controller, is that as my room is going out or in, that I amp out both motors at the same time. Okay, yes, I want my cadence to be the same on the left and the right motor. I want them to be pulse, 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 like in the military, all 32-inch steps, everybody's marching in order. So I want to make sure that my two motors are pulsing correctly, so we're assuming that that's right. Where you're getting into trouble is when these rooms get out of synchronization. So maybe you were stopping somewhere and you just had to open it up just to get into a drawer to get your socks out or something like that. And you just brought it out just a little bit, get your stuff, and you close it back in. The room never saw, oh, and the other reason it might get out of synchronization is as soon as you human take your finger off the button because you human said it was opened all the way or closed all the way, let's allow that controller to see the motors amp out at the same time. So my rule of thumb, keep your finger on the button, count to 3, count to 5, pick a number, but let the controller stop the slide room, okay? Now, I'm the controller. I'm going to bring this room in. It's all the way out right now. The room's going to come in, and it might, because it's not synchronized, one side might stop. We don't know. The controller doesn't know. It's never been, since we've been slicing and dicing all these parts, what we're going to do is, since we're out, I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. and I'm going to bring it out. Maybe this, I'm going to bring it in maybe this far and bring it out. And what my human's ears and human's eyes are going to look at is I'm listening for those motors to amp out at the same time. If my ear hears one of them hitting before the other, then I'm going to bring it back in a couple inches and hit it again and bring it back in until I'm just going to, only a little bit, until I am convinced, me human, that those motors hit and amped out at the same time. But I'm going to leave my finger on the button when I'm going out. So let's do that. So I've got to bring it in just a little bit. So I'm going to retract that much. Now, I just noticed something. This motor stopped before that one did. So it's not in synchronization, okay? If I were to go look at my control module, I would not have a fault light, okay? So I'm going to extend, and what I'm wanting, I'm looking. See this little stair-steppy thing it's doing? So what it just did, I don't know if you caught it, it kind of did this kind of a thing, okay? So did both motors amp out at the same time? Absolutely not. So we're going to keep doing that until it sinks, okay? So I'm going to retract all of an inch, okay? And I'm going to extend. He went before he did, okay? I'm going to retract, not even an inch. I'm going to extend. Oh, we're getting so much closer. They're almost there, but I'm going to do it one more time. I'm going to retract an inch. I'm going to extend. I would say that both motors hit at the same time. They both amped out at the same time, which was not the case the first, second, or third time, but I think we nailed it on the fourth or fifth time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all the way in, and what I'm expecting, because they're hitting at the same time, the controller's happy. So now let's see if we can get it to come all the way in, but if it starts to go sideways on us, we're going to do this reset thing again. So let's bring it in all the way in. We're going to retract. Okay, my human eyeball is looking at the floor. They've got a floor that has the little wood-looking thing to it, so I'm just making sure that, boom, it hits pretty much at the same time. And what I'm expecting to happen is it hits at the same time, amps out at the same time, and oh, that was beautiful. And guess what? My finger is still on the button. I haven't let go yet. So I let that motor amp out. Now let's go all the way out again. So we've synchronized. And again, when we first started, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was wobbling around like, I don't know what, a ship without a rudder in the ocean. A piece of bark floating in the waves. But we brought it in an inch, in and out, in and out, in and out, until the motors finally hit at the same time. We're very close. Here we go. Oh, like a symphony. And guess what? My finger's still on the button. Okay, so now I've let go. We came, we saw, we conquered. I hope this added value to you. I brought you through the symptoms. We brought you through what was causing the problem. You know, one thing I'm thinking now I could have, should have, would have showed you is when we put those new racks in, it would have been really wonderful to show you how tight they were, okay? Because remember how much slop we had? But when we put the new racks in, it was exactly the way it's designed to be, where that bearing block and that rack are perfectly enmeshed with each other. It's all lubricated and nice, not making any bumpy sounds. Before, when you left your finger on the button, it was jump, 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 but we understand that now because the bearing block was twisting, and when it twisted, the spur gear was pulling away from the rack and bump, 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 fatiguing the aluminum rack, fatiguing just everything. And we saw that on the little fin. Be careful on your parts. You're gonna have, I've counted 7 times that Lippert has redesigned this. I don't know how many other times they have. Wider, smaller, taller, shorter, gibs are different sizes. The fins goes up, the fins go down. It's just, even this one, the fin was up, and now the new one replacement, the fin goes down. So I feel it's better just to fix it with a totally replacement. This is all brand new. And I think if the customer keeps everything lubricated, I think they'll have, it'll last the life of the RV. I really do believe that. I love the Schwintek system. I'm not going to trash it. The biggest offender of the Schwintek is it's not being lubricated. I've said that before, and I will keep saying that because I really like this system. I don't have any problem with it at all. Overwhelmingly, the bell curve of repairs is because they've destroyed themselves because they were not lubricated. So, happy campers say my RV works. This is Darren at Salt Creek Campground. Beautiful day. And I hope you are able to get value out of this, get your RV fixed on your own, save yourself the huge repair bill, and we'll see you on the next video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Bye.